next presenter will be talking, her presentation is entitled Character Across Culture, a Womanist Perspective on Saving the World. And so we'll see if she is with us. This is
Dr. Littlefield. I'm not actually seeing Tiana in the attendance. So Tiana, if you are here, if you could let us know. I'm not seeing you in the list.
Okay, great. We'll give her a few minutes. We are just just a minute or two ahead of schedule today. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. Please don't forget that during any of the sessions that if you would like to type a question in the Q&A for the presenter, we're happy to pass that along. And I think I see Tiana in the session now, so I'll move forward with her introduction. Once again, the title of Tiana's presentation will be Character Across Cultures, a Womanist Perspective on Saving the World. Tiana Massaquoi is a senior majoring in political science with a minor in nonprofit studies. So with that, I am going to pass it along to Tiana to introduce her session and tell us more about her studies.
Good afternoon, or good morning still to everyone. Again, my name is Tiana Massaquoi, and I'm going to do my best to present without crying, actually. Just a little bit about my research. This topic came as I was diving into work in my field of youth development. I work with various organizations and groups to help advocate for the needs of young people internationally. And as I was doing some research on character for the YMCA, I found some interesting opportunities to observe character from a different perspective that the research that I was doing at the time didn't necessarily kind of have the space for. And as I do this, I would also like to say I have a newfound appreciation for my professors talking to Black boxes, because this is a little different. I'm very much an interpersonal person. Anyways, so I'm going to try to share my screen here. Content. So my topic comes from, oh no. Okay, my topic comes from not having the opportunity to look at character from a lens outside of what the organization I was working for at the time, how they identified character. So excuse me. Okay. So first, what is a womanist? A womanist is a person who is very much related to feminism and the idea that, okay, I can't deal with I'm just going to talk and go from there. Excuse me for my nerves. Okay, so a womanist is a person who, very much like a feminist, has strong belief in the ability and the capacity of women. But we like to say as wominists that feminism is to, thank you, that womanism is to feminism as purple is to lavender. We're very much related, just a different shade, all right? We have 6 different communities that I had the opportunity of engaging with. And each of these communities had something different, in terms of their character practices and how they were looked at. So the YMCA, they viewed character from the lens of empathy, emotion management, relationship building, responsibility, and personal development. And as a womanist, and in the line of work that I was doing with youth development, I focused on mentoring. And the goal of mentoring is always to help develop the individual. So from a womanist perspective, in mentoring, my focus was making sure that these young women were able to display these 5 character traits when they finished going through maybe a after-school program or whether or not they were staff, however they worked with me or my department, the goal is that they would be able to develop in these 5 areas. Excuse me. The first community of women that I would like to introduce you to are the Sande women of Liberia. This community of women, they're not as easily found as they have been in the past, but this community of women is very much an initiation-based community. You could only come into the community and see the community if you have been initiated or going through the initiation process. These women, when I say character, they did not relate to character in the term of character, but what they could relate to were these 5 principles of empathy, emotion management, personal development, responsibility, and relationship building. They can relate to those five principles in different ways. One of their initiation practices requires like complete isolation. Okay. And one could say, oh, well, maybe there's nothing that they're doing that builds character. Well, when you look at it from a different perspective, they see this initiation that revolves around silence. They see this as empathy, right? They see this as emotion management. They see this as, especially as personal development, is the character practice that I would highlight that the Sande women of Liberia, that they help to develop. The second group of women that I would like to highlight is an organization, or some will call it a movement, called Roots of Royals. Roots of Royals was founded here in the United States, but they are currently operating out of Senegal, West Africa. Senegal and Africa. And the character practice that this organization or group of women focus on is also personal development. Now, this organization is slightly different in that they offer courses, they offer classes, but the most notable thing that this group of women have, and their rite of passage, is called Wife School. They actually have a place that you can go to where you can study and learn to become a wife. Why is this so interesting, or why did I think this was such a neat concept? Because you never hear of something like that. How many women go to school to learn how to become a wife? So instead of when some young women graduate from high school, they can go to this space in Senegal and learn all about the arts of, I call it wifing, as well as things more related to like raising children and that sort of thing. Again, that group that was founded here in the United States. The third group of women are a group of Afro-Latina women from Colombia, in Latin America, in South America, and this group is run by, I cannot pronounce her last name, and I'm a little nervous still, but her name is Doralee, one of these ladies, the ladies that I am working with to do my research. She founded a small jewelry business in her town in Colombia in the hopes of helping to alleviate some of the economic plight that these people were experiencing. The character practice that I would like to highlight with Doralee and her business and the ladies that she's working there is also personal development, but I would also like to highlight relationship building. She created this business, and she's now working in partnership with UNESCO and several other like small businesses to help. And this is mainly through the use of social media. She's working with these individuals to try to change the trajectory of the women in her town. So that is Doralee in Colombia. The fourth group of women are a group of women out of Pawleys Island, South Carolina. There is a small remnant of a culture that I personally have been impacted by. My family is what they call Gullah or Geechee. And this population of African Americans came directly from West Africa, but they never stopped in the islands. And so they had some practices culturally that other groups in the United States may not have been able to kind of keep intact. And the character practice that I would like to highlight with the Gullah Geechee people of South Carolina, there are also some in like towards like coastal areas of Georgia, but it's a very, very interesting population. And the character practice that I would like to highlight with this group of women is empathy. So the Gullah Geechee people, they have their own spiritual practices. And one of the things that they have are places called spirit houses. Now you'll see spirit houses or like spaces such as this. You can find them in the West Indies, in the Caribbean. You can also find them in some areas of Puerto Rico, but they're more related. They're related more to, they're not explicitly Christian faiths, but you'll hear terms, that are similar to some terms that are maybe found in Christianity because they had a lot of influences from Christianity, also with Catholicism or Protestant. I think everybody understands what I'm saying. Thank you. So these spirit houses are places that women can go when they are going through various issues, whether it's something that's something maybe like physical pain, or they're having something as as life impacting as infertility, right? The spirit house is a place that women can go and receive support, not just from women. Interestingly enough, they can also receive support from men, which, as from a womanist perspective, womanists have more of a focus on each other, right? With feminism, you understand the same concept, but with womanism, we try to make or leave space for the value of masculinity and what men bring to the family unit. So having, I thought it was really interesting with them still having men as a part of something as sensitive, because this is a culture that has not been as, deeply impacted by some of our other Western practices. So having men a part of something that's dealing with something as sensitive as infertility is still commonplace. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. How am I doing on time? I've got one other group of
5 minutes. You've got about 5 minutes, Tiana, to.
Okay, so I can slow down a little bit.
Okay.
If I can, before I address the other two communities of women, I want to jump back to the definitions because I felt like I did not do a good enough job sharing that. Womanism the term was coined by a woman named Alice Walker. She was an author, poet, I believe that she's also described as, but Alice Walker she found the term womanist and another term or phrase that had been found or kind of used within the African American population of womanish, ish, ISH on the end. And that was typically used to describe young ladies who were maybe a little more grown, young women, all right, who may have come across as not maybe a little ahead of their time developmentally, if you can follow along with me. And so this term womanish was not something that was very, it wasn't a good thing, but we took it and we turned it into a term to use for women who had a deep appreciation for other women and who had an appreciation for the things that we have within our own culture as women, right? Whether that's dancing, excuse me, I am so sorry. It's a little warm in here today. Whether that is dancing or art or, even just getting around with other women and crying, right? Womanists have an appreciation for who we are as women. But the difference, I think the primary difference, and it's a little nuanced in some circles, the difference is the role, I think the primary difference is the role of the man and the family unit. I think that with feminists, we see more of an exclusion in popular culture, and we all know that feminism is a spectrum. There are people who fall on either sides. Likewise, womanism is a spectrum. And that spectrum can lean more along, liberal womanists who feel like men should only be used, for reproduction. And then there are some womanists who feel like there is more of a need for the man to be a more central part of the family unit. So I don't want to, I think that's an important point to note. So with that being said, as we look at these communities of women, and as I had the opportunity to engage with them and get to know them, and as I continue to engage with them and get to know them, I find myself amazed because there is this sense of pride in the things that they do. There is a sense of dedication that I have not seen in other circles where I've had the opportunity to observe. And there's also a sense of commitment to some of these core values. And that's why these traditions still maintain. That is why you still have, the Sande women in Liberia, that their tribe they've been together for a couple of 100 years. So we're still seeing the impact of their initiation processes in their culture, and it's a beautiful thing. Two other populations I'll mention very quickly. We have the Wailing women, who I have not been able to observe yet. The Wailing women, there are various pockets of them throughout different areas of Africa. They are one population of women that I'm looking forward to doing more research and observations with. And then finally, the Chibe women of Sudan. So with that said, I just want to say thank you.
I have one question.
Oh, we have a question.
Before you finish, I have one question for you. This was posted by Nia, who is in fact our next presenter. And she asks, I am interested in the wife school in Senegal. Other than practical learning of being wives, such as housework and mothering, what values and norms of being wives does the school teach?
The first value of this school is compassion. And I think that is so beautiful, considering that as a wife and a mother myself, one of the things or areas that I've had to grow the most in is probably my level of compassion and how I see other people and their struggles. But Wife School, they focus first and foremost on compassion and helping wives understand an order for the family. So there are some like philosophical things values that they have. This actually started, and it kind of connects with some of the things that I'm learning in my African American politics class. We were learning about Black nationalism. And so this organization, Roots of Royals, could be identified as probably a Black nationalist group.
Great. Thank you so much for a fascinating presentation. It was really wonderful to get a look at other cultures and how women function as both supports for one another and bring in the supports of their communities too. So thank you very much for your presentation today. Nice commentary in the chat for you as well. Fascinating research, enjoyed learning from you. Great.